A very good evening. Welcome to another interesting edition of Big Talk, a program where we highlight Nigeria's politics and all that concerns Nigeria. And as we move towards the 1st October, where we have Nigeria's independence, and this year, just in about 84 hours or thereabout, Nigeria is going to be 65 years as a nation since we became a nation in 1960. We've done 65 years already, and there are a lot of talks about the progress we've made as a nation and what we've actually done as a nation. Tonight on the show, and maybe throughout this week, we will be highlighting the progress we've made in different strata, in different spaces as a country, as we look at our politics on the program. Tonight on the show, we'll be looking at Nigeria as 65, reflecting on our democratic journey every step of the way. And we are even going to go pre-independence in the 1940, where we had the assembly of people like Michael Enaoro, who were pushing for that a space where they can voice and talk about Nigeria, who actually stood up and rose the motion for a country called Nigeria, and different other people, Obafemi Awolowo, Nnamdi Azikiwe, and the Sardauna of Sokoto, who contributed significantly to the formation of Nigeria as we have, even though at that time the political configuration was not what we had today. And we're going to be looking at all of that. And to help us make sense of this discussion is the former local government chairman in Edo State, talking about Destiny Enabulele. I don't know if I got the name right. Former Ovia Southwest local government chairman, and also a former House of Representative member in
former House of Assembly.
Former House of Assembly member in Edo State. You're very welcome. And a PDP stakeholder, I must say that.
Nice meeting you. I think I cannot
if you are an ADC member, I will not give you a handshake, because handshake is a symbol of ADC. I don't belong to any political party. Alright guys, so let's look at some of the stories that we're tracking for you this time. Some of the political stories we're able to track for you this time before we get right deep into our conversation. Can we have the stories now? Alright, so the first story says FCT polls, Wike declares support for APC candidates. So FCT Minister Nyesom Wike has declared support for the candidate of the All Progressive Congress for the Abuja Municipal Area Council chairmanship seat in the February 2026 council for Christopher Michael Luku. That's coming from one of the stories I'm able to track for you. Another story tonight. ASU issues 14-day ultimatum to federal government over unresolved issues. So the Academic Staff Union of Universities has issued a 14-day ultimatum to the federal government of Nigeria over some of the issues that have been unresolved with the union. Another story. Over 6.2 million Nigerians complete online voter pre-registration. This is coming from the Independent National Electoral Commission. So more than 2.6 million Nigerians have completed their online pre-registration of the continuous voter registration during week 6 of the exercise, according to data released by the Independent National Electoral Commission today. We'll take the last story. UK plans tougher rules for migrants. So Britain's Interior Minister today proposed tough new rules for migrants seeking to settle in the UK after ruling Labour Party blustered its fight against hard rights at its annual conference. Right, we get to our discussion now. Alright, so let's go for a short break and one more back. Nigeria at 65, reflecting on our democratic journey. Has it been worth it? 65 years of nationhood. After this break, join us. All right, so we'll look at Nigeria at 65 years already. I remember a few years ago when it was Nigeria at 50, when we had to reprint our money. Yeah, that 50 naira note, and we had posters. At that time, I was still in Akwa Ibom. Yeah, we had the flyers. Nigeria at 50, and look how far we've come. 15 years already. Now it's Nigeria at 65, and to some, they could still remember Nigeria at 1.
Definitely.
All right.
To some, yeah, even to some, Nigeria at 10.
Nigeria at 10. Absolutely. So, Mr. Destiny, you've really been involved in our democratic journey. A former local government chairman, a chieftain of a party. You were in the house at a point.
I was in the house for 6 months, but that is a part of the series.
Yeah, it's a part of the democratic journey, right?
It is.
Yeah.
It is.
So 65. Let's start at 1960.
Mr. Sora, let me again, as usual, I appreciate Global TV for this yet another opportunity, and I appreciate the management. You see, yes, so far so good. To my mind, I must appreciate the creator of the universe for giving Nigeria thus far to 65 years. Because if you decide to cast your mind back to what happened during the Nigeria Civil War, some of us that read it in school never would ever thought that we'll be able to see 65. Even for what has happened in the recent past. But here we are. That yes, we are bubbling. We are bubbling. They don't ask me whether it's for good.
We'll talk about that.
You don't ask me that because we are bubbling. So I must give it to God at least for making us one indivisible entity. For me, I must appreciate the founding fathers for their resilience, for their cohesion, and above all, for being able to midwife this country as we have it very just now. It's unfortunate that those that took over from them has squandered the whole process for pepper souping and big stouting. It is quite sad.
All right, so I'm talking about the founding fathers now. At the forefront of the independence, we had a lot of persons who were involved, but at least representing the various regions, the southern region at the time, as the southeast, south, and southwest. We had people like Obafemi Awolowo, who was very pronounced. Yeah. We had Zik, who was also very pronounced. Then in the north, of course, we can't rule out the fact of Ahmadu Bello was very pronounced. Sultan of Sokoto and all of that. Let's look at almost the three of them looked as if they had different ideologies concerning what Nigeria could be. Just today, I attended a conference and somebody was talking. I attended a world press briefing concerning Nigeria 65, and a journalist asked question that at the points, people, even among the three of them, there were disagreement as to what kind of democracy should we run. Right at the point was representative democracy, not the type we have today, and all of that. I like that you just highlight the politics of the 1960 and how far we've deviated from maybe the plans of the founding fathers.
You see, to be very frank, I think you've enumerated some of the highlights. Proud to, we had what we call parliamentary system, a representative where among the lots one have to represent, like what we're presenting, practicing in Edo, in the local administration, the local council now, those that are midwifing, perhaps piloting the various councils now, they are councillors. So they forcefully ejected and whipped them out of office, the elected council chairman and their vice. So that's where we find ourselves. You've raised a very fundamental issue. You see, the issue is this, which is to my mind, it is very unfortunate, because I think it was the former United States president, President Barack Obama, that once said that Africa should concentrate on having very strong institutions around our strongmen. What has put us in this conundrum is as a result of creating, power around an individual. If you have an institution, even if you permit me, the then enemy of the then Bende state, bring it to the system, it will definitely must live right. But the system we currently have in this country, I'm a Christian. With almost humility, if you bring our Lord Jesus Christ to this system, at the end of the day, people will say, crucify me the second time. Because the system is porous, the system is corrupt, and the system is negotiating. My brother, well, I just hope each and every one of us will just at least smell the corridor of power one day and see what the rough in the system. That is, it is rotten with utmost humility. So to my mind, I want to appeal now that few hours from now we'll be at 65. What are the gains? What are the mechanisms? What path what are we put in place to give us the needed flavor or the Eldorado that we yearn for? What system? What mechanism have we put in place? If you ask me, to me, I'm confused. You said something just now. Right before time, it was a parliamentary, a representative system. As we speak very just now, I don't know the system will run. I've asked the cost to ask a professor of political science. He will tell you, my brother, I'm confused. Just 2 weeks ago, as a result of this, imbroglio in Edo State, I called one of my lecturers at the University of Benin. I asked him, what is the system we are practicing? He said, I'm a political science professor. I'm confused. If I ask you now, what system of government are we running in Nigeria?
It's democracy, of course. That's all we say. That's all we know.
Is it parliamentary? Is it a presidential?
Presidential system.
Are you sure? Like what is obtainable in the United States of America?
No, but yes, let's use the.
Some fine minds they've said it's a liberal, presidential system. But I don't know. I've read it, but I can't point anything positive to the system that we run. It's confused. The system we are running now is confused. You said it earlier that among the three that there were confusion among them. Perhaps that is what has snowballed into what this present crop of leaders that we have in this country inherited from our founding fathers. That is why you see the system as we have in this state is in this country is confused.
All right, so
not the confusion of that of Edo State when he was trying to present the budget, but it's not confusing, but it's confused.
All right, so you took some political jab on your governor there, but that's fine. He has the right to also reply. All right, so we're still looking at that. We moved to a point where we had the first interjection by the military,
yes,
bringing on General Ironsi, and people have argued, some political scientists have also argued that the interference of the military at that time may have been what led our democracy astray, and after that, we are going to be having several other interventions from one point to the other till 1999, where to date we've been able to run more than 20 years of unbroken democracy, which we've never done before as a country. All right, so I like that we also look at the military era and the coming of military into government. How did it affect us, or how is it still affecting us? Because some people still even argue that it seems there were some power brokers in the military era that are still, deciding those who are leading in the civilian era.
So with utmost humility, for those that still live in the past, trying to situate the performance of the democratic process as a result of the military incursion, I believe they are living in self-denial. That's what some scholars refer to as frustrational scapegoatism. They are living in self-denial because you can't just because you want to kill a dog and give it a bad name. That is exactly what they are trying to do. As a father, when a child begins to learn how to walk, definitely the child will stumble, but that will not stop the child from moving, from getting up and try to kick on. So for us, for one individual to say because of the military incursion, that is why we are experiencing the democratic setbacks. I sympathize with them. That is very far from it. At any rate, if you ask me, as a student of history, I will tell you with utmost humility that we were better off during the military era. I must say, see, the only thing that is here in the democratic process is that it goes rounds. What some of my friends will refer to chop by chop restaurant. You see, that is democracy for you. It goes rounds. Unlike the military, when the military is a command system. If I'm Oga and I have subordinates, if I say stand, they will stand. If I say sit, unlike a democratic process. And wherever Oga take, challenge the resources to, nobody will question. That is because it's a command system. For me, I sympathize with them. For me, I don't see anything that has affected the military incursion because of ICYZ during their going Rossing, later go one, then Murtala Mohammed assassination, then brought in Obasanjo, then some military during Shagari, and again with utmost humility, late Buhari, and later what's his name, Ibrahim Badamasi Babangida and Abacha. So for me, for the past since 1999, it's enough for us to create a path of recovery. Our neighbor country here, Ghana, experienced military incursion, but today I read something not too long ago, about a few hours ago, in terms of our relation of the judicial system, even in Africa. My brother, Nigeria is, my brother, we are in for a big time.
All right, so
for a big time.
Yeah, you know, those arguments, because people can argue about the psychological effect of those incursions, like you mentioned.
What psychological effect?
You know, those are arguments as to how we deal.
Let me ask you this one. A child that was given birth in 1999 till date, how old is that child? It's old enough to go to a husband's house. If it's a female.
Right. Yeah, right. So let me just add, so you could add to that. So the argument is that maybe those incursions, because during that time, our politicians had to fight tooth and nail. People like the current president and a whole lot, you know, went through that struggle to see the democracy. And maybe during the struggle, they weren't really planning for governance at the time. I like that you also put your mind to that. And also the fact that some of those in the military also transitioned. A lot of them. David Mark, former Senate president, as a Senate president, a lot of governors, former president of Nigeria, Muhammadu Buhari, was a former military leader. Former presidents also, 1999 to 2007, talking about Olusegun Obasanjo, former military leader, Abdulsalam Abubakar, and even though he didn't really transition to power block. Even Tiwa Danjuma, people still mention him as power block. So how is it force? Yeah, so you can imagine that the influence, you know, may have been what is still affecting our democratic system.
I beg to differ. You know, I'm not very frank.
No, go ahead. Yeah.
Because if you look at this, this whole gammon of a thing, this what we call, you know, democracy, with utmost humility, my psyche has been affected within the last 2 years and still counting of this present administration. I'm not being very frank. My notion towards the democratic process, it has been dotted to a point I'm trying to recover. Because to my mind, democracy is all about the people. It is centered around the people. A situation where you want to equate yourself as being a figure of center of attraction in a democratic process, it's no longer a democratic process. It is dictatorial and autocratic. You see, you don't just, let me quickly say this, like when the present administration, Bola Ahmed Tinubu was coming on board May 27, I said the first subsidy is gone. With utmost humility, no right thinking person, without studying the terrain, will just come with a fiat. We are not living in a military era. You must consult. Democracy is about consultation and communication. Two things underline. It's about consultation and communication. That's democracy. It's not a military, it's not a fiat command system. No. So he did not. And over time, you can see what that has cost us and ways that put us economically, politically, and otherwise. So for me, I have a problem with this administration.
No, but we're not looking at. We are coming. We are just following the trend. We'll come to the administration. We'll talk about it, but let's highlight, because we are looking at the journey holistically. All of the other.
Yes, if you look at it, the civil society over time, they played role in trying to unseat the military men, but invariably they have started those that call for a civilian rule. If you recall, prior to 1998 and 1999, those, especially those that were in the classroom, the intelligentials, They never thought that the military will hand over. Hence, with utmost humility, they never do worse. For those of us that attended, village school, I remember those days in one of our English classes. Our English teacher will see those that are sitting at the back and those that never do well. They are shy to answer questions. Perhaps maybe they don't know it, but I don't know. But they will refer to them as so they never do well. They occupy the political space, and it was not becoming difficult for those in the classroom, the intelligentials to now unseat. They never do well. That's why we find ourselves in this quagmire. And if you look at it step by step, you will understand that is where we find ourselves.
All right, so let's still stay, because I really want us to look at the democratic journey, right? And I just maybe leave the military part of it, as we'll keep having sessions this week. We'll have to look at that also. But now in 1999, we had the coming of the democracy, and it was joyful, right? Even before 1999, I won't even snowball into 1999, 1993, right?
Yeah.
In an election that is said to be the fairest and the fairest election, where we had SDP gave its ticket to Moshood Abiola, MKO Abiola, and NRC, yes, and all of that, and there was a lot of expectation. Nigerians, even though some data suggests that a lot of people didn't really vote, so it was voter party as to maybe 45%, but let's leave that. But it's roundly acclaimed as one of the fairest elections in Nigeria, and it was truncated. The results was being read and it was paused on the way and all of that. So don't you think that could also even affect the democratic psyche and the politicians as to how, because all of these issues, has some effects that could trickle down to what we're having today. But I just like you talk about that era and what happened politically at that time.
Mr. So you see, yes, I will align a bit. But if you look at it, who were the actors that truncated the exercise?
The 1992 election?
Yes. Who? It's not you and I. It's the same old politicians.
Well, was it politicians or the
If you go back to history, every coup that has happened, it has always been financed by civilian. Go back to history. So what happened between the Abacha, the IBB, and MKO? These three fellows, they were club palace. If you go back to history, so what happened within them? So for me, yes, it has a little, but I still refuse to agree that it affects to some extent. Yes, because majority of us, then when I say us, then our at the space at that era, never believe that the military will hand over. They thought that it's going to be like that of 1993, like what happened to MKO. Hence, again, they never do well, according to my teacher. Then they occupy the space. To some extent, you might be right. To some extent, but for me, as a Nigerian, you see, we must look at it. See, democracy or politics, according to one of my lecturer, it's just like what do you call that? Jabu betting. It's either you win or you lose. So to my mind, they are courageous enough to take the bull by the horn. They were courageous enough. So they went to the street, they make noise, and they say, okay, you must hand over. And they did. They hand over in 1999. With utmost humility to the wrong set of persons.
All right. Those are conversations we'll still come to that. But I like that. Before I just leave 93 and we get to 99 now, right? And the journey as a politician, where people weren't allowed to practice a democracy or identify with political parties that were not accepted by the government in power at that time, or by the military. If you identify, you could, be taken in. There was people had to go into Excel and all of that. Did we learn any lesson from all of these other, the First Republic, the Second Republic, the Third Republic, were they lessons the Shagari era? Were they lessons our politicians learned? Or were politicians in that era? Let's just leave 1999. We'll focus on that, right? Our politicians then, prior to 1993, were they better in the short while where we had the experimental democracy that we had in the country at the time?
See, if you look at during the Shagari era, yes, one of the reasons that used to being overthrown is as a result of corruption.
Yeah, it was. They mentioned that it was widespread.
Who led to the imprisonment of Professor Ali Foronshaw of the Dembende State. Back to 1999. If you look at it, whether we've learned any lesson, I will say no. Emphatically no. Capital no. You know why? If you look at what has been happening, the gamut or the gargantuan corruption across board is because, with utmost humility, I must give it to the military. They are more matured now as a result of the world view about military rule. I'm not being very frank. If I were to be proud to be before this time, what has happened in the last from Buhari till this very one is enough.
All right,
to do the unthinkable. And I will say it to do the unthinkable. It was in this country that they brought an aircraft painted with green. Say yes, Nigeria has launched a national carrier. As we speak today, where is the national carrier? Where is the national carrier? If you go across, let me try to leave the central government, across the subnational governments. If they tell you what is going on across the subnational government, my dear brother.
All right.
Let me swallow the rest.
All right. So let's do a bit into 1999 now. At least 1999, we had that election that produced Olusegun Obasanjo as the president, right? We had two major people from the southwest, run for that election.
Olufalaye.
Yeah, Olufalaye. And we had Olusegun Obasanjo to come out as the president under the platform of the PDP, the People's Democratic Party, newly established in '98, full of figure.
PDP.
Yes, Jerry Garner was there. Yes, and it seemed as a new dawn for the new people who just came into politics. We had young governors. Governor of Cross River State, Donald Duke, was 37 at the time.
Even Delta State.
A lot of young people.
Even the Lucky Benedict, His Excellency.
Yeah, so I like even that class of 1999. Right. If you look at the governors there, maybe apart from Mr. President, I was a governor.
Yeah, was a governor, yeah.
1999, and maybe a few other like James Ibori and a few others. You can't really. A lot of them don't readily come to mind, right? As to maybe they've not really been so involved in national discourse over time. But I like that you just look at 1999 to 2007. Let's limit our discourse within that time. What were some of the progress we were able to make during the period democratically? Because I remember that was a time people talked about ballot box snatching. People talked about assassination politically. So just talk about the political terrorism.
Yeah, if you look at it,
you could talk about the challenges and also the success.
Yes, if you look at it, it was just us coming to the civilian rule, and to a larger extent, it was a welcome development by everybody, which to was visible to the blind and audible to the deaf. They said, okay, again we are back to the civilian rule, and there was indeed some fundamental changes. You know why? Because the departure was very obvious from the military rule, unlike what we have now, from civilian to civilian. So we will be able to track the progress. Then it was very easy to track the process, the process of events or some of the policies. Then we had what we now celebrated today, the EFCC and some other reforms. The BP, the Bureau of
Public Enterprise,
definitely, yes. So we had some of those reforms coming on board, and it was very visible. because it was a departure from the military, and there was this acceptance of speech, gathering, opposition as it were. Then the current president, at the time, confronted the lady, confronted the president. Say, okay, you say we should do this, we will not do this. He went ahead to create FCDA. And the president OBJ said, no, federal government is not going to fund, and he held back their statutory allocation. And he went ahead as a super boss and as a mini Nigeria, and he survived those trying time in Lagos. But let's bring it. You said we should not come to. But you just look at, there was very vibrant subnational governments and governors have spoken, intelligent, to confront the status quo, or like what we have now. Because there was this firebrand of confronting the military, and here we are in talk I talk. Why would I talk? You are putting on agbada and I'm putting on agbada. I can talk to you. Or like when you are putting on khaki and putting on agbada, there must be fear. So there was this robust conversation across the length and breadth of this country. So for me, there was a progress. The only thing that I have with that of OBJ, with utmost humility, is his top 10 bid.
But he has denied it.
He has denied it. But to some of the players,
recent he said nobody can come and.
To some of the players. So because I have had the cause to intervene at my master's level, I interviewed two of them that were at the Senate then. They said it. So there's no way they would have,
So very sincere. So you are telling us that you have information because you spoke to some of them.
But three of them.
And they confirmed that OBJ wanted to go for the top 10. But he said he never wanted to.
Just of recent, he was not in Ghana or something like that. So for us, I must give it to 1999 to 2009. 2007, sorry, to 2007. There were some kind of civility and the quest to drive Nigeria to the desired destination by way of putting in the things like providing electricity, providing good roads, having secured territory. There was this bubbling, and OBJ with utmost humility brought in brains in the diasporas to come help build the country, like Ukozi Uwela and many of them, Akinwumi Adesina and many others. Right. So, and he brought in some very fearless retired military like Tiwa Danjuma, which tomorrow is still a father figure in this country. So for us, there was a formidable front to confront the enemy. There was a formidable front. All right. So, and then there was this balkanization and commercialization and politicization of the military. Then the military, they were with utmost humility, they just pamper like a last born. If they ask for why, or if they ask for two, they give them four. I remember I was in the Ojo Cantonment, staying with one of my father's friend who was in military. You see them giving their cars left, right, center. So that they will not look into, because we're just living in the military, so that they will not look at having the mind to come topple government. So that's from that time, our military were pampered like last month. And today, that's what we still have. Casino, they can back, they cannot bite.
I don't understand what you say by bite, but let's go for a short break, guys. And we're having Mr. Destiny Nabulili, a former Ovia Southwest local government chairman in Edo State, join us as we look at Nigeria at 65. A reflection of our democratic journey so far. Let's go for this break, and when we're back, the discussion continues. right, so in a few days from now, Nigeria will be 65. And tonight on the show, we're looking at Nigeria at 65, reflecting on our democratic journey so far. Joining us is Mr. Destiny Abulele, who is a politician and former Ovia Southwest local government chairman in Edo State. All right, he's also been involved in civil activism and he's been around politics for a long time. As we look at how far we've come as a country this far. All right, so okay, so now let's look at we said 1999 to 2007. In 2007, we had another election for a cycle of 8 years. That's to 2015, right here. We had Umaru Musa Yar'Adua coming to 2 years, 2.5 years. God bless you. So, and we had Jonathan coming, complete 2 years, did his own 4 years, and wanted to go back again before we had Muhammadu Buhari in 2015.
Yeah.
Right. With the formation of the APC as we have it now. Well, let's look at Jonathan's time. Maybe we'll just limit it to the 6 years in power. Let's talk about how was the democratic atmosphere or the democratic ecosystem of Nigeria as at the time where Goodluck Jonathan was president.
Yeah, Mr. Soro, before we went to break, I said something that the military, they were, during the OBJ, Olusegun ambassador, they were just like pampered last born. What am I trying to, or rather, what am I trying to achieve is this. If we're to be proud before that time, all this Boko Haram bandit you are seeing, they will have long been a thing of the past. And again, to have be some kind of checks and balance for the civilian role.
But that's not their function.
No, ordinarily, you know that if we misbehave, this boy might decide to do something drastic, having to your head. But they have been over time, well, it's a topic for another day. You see, the issue at hand, that of there's no way we will talk about the Jonathan's era without mentioning Yar'Adua.
Yeah, absolutely. He was president. Yeah.
We must give it to Yar'Adua. May the Lord bless his soul. For the 2 years he presided this country, there was self-relief. There was reduction of some prices.
Yeah, the only president reduced price of petrol. Yeah.
And there was some kind of calmness in the country across the length and breadth. He came up with the amnesty program in the Niger Delta. But today, what do you have? We have some persons giving amnesty to every Tom, Dick, and Harry without them first submitting their weapons of mass destruction.
I still remember videos where we had weapons being submitted from.
I went to the creeks. There was a friend of mine from Lancaster University that was doing the research. I was a research assistant to him. We went to the creeks. I still have some of the pictures in my Facebook pages. We went to the creeks. We met them. I saw first time for me to see. I saw weapons of mass destruction in unbelievable proportion. So for us, we must give it to him, and it paid off in the Niger Delta. There was some calm, and there was then our exploration, there was increase in the exploration of oil and gas because he was a father, he was a nationalist. Now to Jonathan. And Jonathan took over and started some of the programs and policies he inherited from his predecessor.
They're from the 7-point agenda, as it was called at that time.
Yes. So we must appreciate that era of Yar'Adua and Jonathan.
27 to 250.
Definitely. The problem we as a people of this country is this, which is very simple. We are easily, deceived.
But before we just move from that era and looked at because I'm also going to ask you about the local government, the state. We still have a few things that we have on our page here. There are allegations, right? That particular time, 27 to 215, was a time when we saw a lot of recklessness in governance, right? You know the Dazuki Gates, as we have it, you know, and all of that. And these were people who were part and parcel of that government, and they've been linked to corruption in immeasurable estates.
Let me be very frank with you. There is no country. There's no country in the world. Every country has their own corruption. Just that it has been reduced to the barest minimum. No country will say there's no corruption. No. We're talking humility. You see, that is not to say that I agree with what happened during the Jonathan's era. No. Very far from it. The point I am driving at, you know,
but it seems you are only highlighting the positives.
Definitely, I will definitely highlight only the positive, because during that time I lived as a citizen.
But it was a PDP era.
I'm not concerned whether it was a PDP era.
No, you remember the PDP.
See, from the way I'm talking, I'm not talking.
I understand.
Because I'm a PDP person. I will give it to you. OBJ is a PDP, one of the PDP. I told you just now. So for us, yeah, the Ziani. One or two, yeah, there was some, corruption even among the 12 of our Lord Jesus Christ. Among the 12 of our Lord Jesus Christ, under the 12, there was a Judah. So for us, we must give it to that era. At that time, a bag of rice was how much? 8,000, if I'm not mistaken. A full bag of rice, 50 kg.
Well, what was the minimum wage?
Then you can take it to the market. Then minimum wage is 18 or thereabout. We take it to the market. But today, how much do we have as a minimum wage? Can't even take you from your office to your bus stop. Left to take it to your house and bring you to the market. It's no longer triangular. That's where we find ourselves. We have more money now with heavy inflation because we are saddled with taxes and tariffs. I listened to former Prime Minister of United Kingdom, Margaret Thatcher, said a nation that is concerned about taxes and tariff drives away investors and investment, and no investor will want to go to that nation. We're talking about humility. What do we have in this country as we speak very justly? Already established, the establishment, they are living, they're having their exit from this country.
All right, so
to take statistics, look back.
Yeah, but today I attended a World Press Conference, and we heard the Minister of Information roll out all of the things that this government. Maybe I'll give you the handouts because you also look at some of the things that the government says they've done.
The government says they've done. I like that. I underline.
Some of the things the government says.
Let's see. When the government said we have done XYZ, is it manifest in the lives of the citizens? I'm a father. I said, yes, I have more money. I have money now, and my children are still living as if they are from a very rich home. All right. We say my daddy is rich, and they go to school barefooted.
All right, so from 2015.
Answer me.
2015.
No, answer me.
2015. Let's talk about the questions now. 2015. We had prior to 2014, we had the coalition,
yes,
or the major of political parties. I like to call it the ACN, some part of the ANPP. We had the CPC,
CPC,
and all of them. They came together to form the APC, and eventually they won that general election in 2015. And Muhammadu Buhari became president. And God bless his soul. He was president from 2015 to 2023. I like that you look at that era in context. So we could just do the two other things we have, and we end the show tonight.
You see, you said so many things just now. You try to just look at the Jonathan and look at the Buhari late era. I said something here just now, and that it was during his era that they told us that now we don't have a national carrier. But as we speak very just now,
Minister of Aviation.
As we speak very just now, where is the national carrier? Where is the national carrier? That's some of the things. You see, when they are talking about corruption, yes, as nation, begin to, evolve, the issue of coming up with programs and policies to address some of the shortfalls, and that was what brought in the EFCC, the ICPC, the Code of Conduct. But at the time, those bodies were now more, involved in, they're not becoming a tool to any government in power. You see, a situation where you go to a politician's house, you see a chief judge, the wife is serving Coke and Bonvita, and tomorrow, and you are standing before that chief judge. You think that chief judge will be bold enough to say you are guilty? Are you sure? It's very difficult. So that's where we find ourselves in this country. So for us, the Buhari era, with utmost humility, it is how not to govern a country. I must be very frank. For me, I never aligned or supported, because I read some of his programs and policies as a student in 1983, if I'm not mistaken, when he overthrew the Shagari regime, the war against indiscipline. The man that was in Sado, perhaps the signature of all eyes in that administration, was Ediagbon, who unfortunately, gone before his emergence. So for me, I have some reservation, and some persons that have worked with him closely, they have some certain things that are not very, very, good about an administrator. See, to preside, you must have a togal of an administrator. If you don't have, you'll be in a problem. And that was one of the issues that militated against one or two persons in his administration. So they capitalized on it, and they were doing all sorts of shady deals. Abiakari. Late now, we've had the issue has to do with oil exploration and what have you. That era, that 8 years was not deep in corruption compared to previous administration before him. I can stand before anybody.
Buhari's 8 years,
yes,
that came into governance on the platform of fighting corruption.
You see, so it was this deceptive. I said just now. I said Nigerians were at times we're talking about humility, including my own person. So at times we are gullible. See somebody just come and paint and tell us blah blah blah, we'll just fall for it. Occupy Nigeria. First was the remover. I was in the street.
2011.
I was in the street saying no. And this set of persons sponsored the program that time. And here you are, without consulting, because you knew the role you played, that if you decide not to consult, perhaps you understand. And said, no, there will be any room for consultation. Let me go there and act as if and tell them that yes, right, despite I'm a civilian, I have some level of military.
Right. So once before we end the show now, I have two more questions. Let's look at local governance. Where you were a local government chairman, in Ovia
Southwest,
in Edo State.
Edo State, yeah.
And there've been a lot of concern that it seems of all the 3 tiers of government, that the local governments have been shortchanged, that the local governments seem not to have the resources, the need for development. We didn't have autonomy, even though these present governments have talked about how far they've gone to, actually put out autonomy and all of that. Tell us your experience and how the local government system have improved in the last 65 years that we've had as a country.
Let me quickly say this. Our style of administration under Governor Obaseki was different entirely. I must be very frank. He tutored us on how to govern the people appropriately. And during my school days, I've had the cause to interface with late Samuel Ogbemudia, who during the course of our interaction told us that if eventually you find yourself at the saddle of leadership tomorrow, make sure that 80% of the people's money, collective patrimony, works for them. You can make do with the 20% by way of, say, there will not be any dissented voices. And that is the mind I took in when I found myself accidentally. That was the first time I was entering politics. And I was, God willing, I secured the council chairman of Ovia Southwest. And indeed, I always use myself as a case study. I indeed worked to the best of my ability. And when I look back, I don't have any regrets. I sat portion of failed roads in my local government. Not granite. We put granite, asphalt. Failed portions. I built markets. Igwazowa, Odo, as I speak, you can make a call. It's in use. The third one was already, 80-90% before the COVID set in. That's what slowed us down. And I was already building a CBT center, knowing that the new cash cow is the CBT center. Now that the WAEC and SSC, they are trying to say, okay, it must be CBT. Right. So that will not generate money for the local government.
Right. We are running out of time. Yeah, we are running out of time. So I'd just like to put your thoughts in 30 seconds, because I need to ask these two questions. In 30 seconds now, you think that the local government, the last 65 years, have been robust enough? Just maybe a year.
So to be very frank with you, it has not been robust enough, because we are not giving the needed impetus for them to work. If you want local government to work, this issue of having a lacuna, let's assume I'm here in this tenure, and the next 2 years, you don't leave it for civil servants. That is what killed the local government administration. Because there is no succession or plans.
Right. So the states now, have you think at the subnational, the states have been able to localize development in the last 65 years as we end the show now?
With utmost humility,
the states have failed.
They failed in the localization.
Is there any state you can point out that they failed, and any state you can point out that they've done well?
Presently, what we have in the state, they have failed.
But what we have in Obaseki was there. They did
to some extent, up to 60-70%. Let's say 65%. We did well as a look. I'm using my time as in my colleague, myself and my colleagues.
Thank you so much.
Because we were monitored, because we were able to submit income and expenditure to the government. Government will sit with us at a round table where we explain bit by bit how we expend the money.
Right. Thank
you. We'll get our allocations.
Thank you so much, Mr. Destiny and Abulele. We are running out of time, and I've been signaled by the producers. We have to go now. Nigeria at 65 is an ongoing discussion. We hope that as we reflect on our democratic journey, we can learn from the challenges and put ourselves at the back on the progress we've made. Obviously, we've also made good progress.
We've made good progress. That's no doubt. But it's very, very infinitesimal.
And joining is a country on our journey, all right, and we hope that we'll get to where we're going to, a place where our founding fathers hope, a country without disunity, a country that will be the greatest black nation on planet Earth. And that's the end of today's edition of Big Talk. My name is Ubong Osoro in Abuja, and I say bye for now.